Hello, my name is Isaiah Franco. I'm currently a sophomore here at Wofford College studying international affairs and Spanish with a minor in environmental studies. Originally from Philadelphia, now I live just outside of the city, but I think that's really where this all begins for me when I moved out of the city with my mother. And my mother decided to move us out of Philadelphia when I was 12 to provide better educational opportunities for me, which I can't thank her enough for. But things really changed a lot for me there. I went from being at a predominantly Hispanic elementary school to a predominantly white middle school, and I've continued in PWIs for the rest of my education. When I was younger, and still to an extent today, I think I really didn't realize when I left the city how much I was losing touch with my culture, with my family, and once I got there, I felt very lonely. Um, and at times, that loneliness has continued, feeling not white enough to be white, but not Puerto Rican enough to be Puerto Rican, somewhere in between, but lost. And I've become more confident in that part of me, in part learning Spanish, in part learning me. But I think what I admire Frederick Douglass so much for is his ability to succeed in white spaces at a time when being black was a crime. It's hard for me to get used to these institutions, but he was able to make use of his spaces and leverage the institutional capacity around him to create justice and equality. And I hope to do the same. Last year, I started here at Wofford College, and coming to the South was a bit of a culture shock for me. For the first time, I experienced explicit homophobia, but luckily, I was able to eventually join LGBT Terriers as an ally and march in Upstate Pride and begin my journey there. Um, and eventually, the second year came, and a friend of mine who was part of the community transferred because she felt like she didn't belong here. And as a person who's felt that way in and out for much of my life, I thought it was wrong. And I think that created this motivation for me to continue work at the Office of Diversity and Inclusion as a student coordinator. And the first big opportunity that really came up was to light up our main building with pride lights. And this had never been done before. The administration was dragging its feet when the office suggested it. So I was able to use my institutional ability as a campus union delegate to our student government to pass a resolution to get those lights up and, create pressure from students and an office. There was still some feet dragging. Eventually we got a newspaper article written and other students got on board. But eventually we were able to ensure that those lights went up. And in a place where I was told that being gay is a sin, that changed. And there's so much more work to do. I'm so excited now. We're gonna light up Old Main with the Pan-African flag for Black History Month, and a building built by enslaved people is going to become a standard bearer for a movement for the advancement of Black folk. And I hope to continue being able to change the institutions I exist at in this way. Whether I become a lawyer, whether I use my Spanish for immigration law, whether I fight for environmental policy. I know that I belong in the spaces I occupy, and I want others to belong too.